What would happen if the unimaginable unfolded right before our very eyes? Imagine a sleek Russian fighter jet armed to the teeth and traveling at breakneck speed across the open skies, until everything goes catastrophically wrong. And before anyone could react, the fighter descending at high speed collides with the towering USS Gerald R, the largest and most advanced aircraft carrier in the world. Was this a tragic accident or a deliberate provocation? Could classified technology from the jet fall into American hands? And how will Russia respond now that one of their most lethal weapons lies within US control? Join as we unravel the series of events that will unfold when a Russian fighter jet crashes into a US aircraft carrier. On September 23, 2024, a US Air Force F-16 fighter jet operating under North American Aerospace Defense Command was on a routine mission to intercept a Russian Tu-95 bomber flying within the Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone. The ADIZ, a crucial buffer zone designed to monitor foreign aircraft approaching US and Canadian airspace, frequently sees these kinds of intercepts as part of ongoing tensions between the two nations. During this operation, a Russian Su-35, known for its advanced maneuverability and air-to-air combat capabilities, made a dangerously aggressive move toward the F-16. This high-stakes encounter elevated concerns about the increasing military activities in the Arctic region, where Russia has been expanding its presence. The Su-35's action was so reckless that it endangered both aircraft, raising the risk of a mid-air collision. General Gregory Guillot, commander of NORAD and U.S. Northern Command, expressed his concern, stating, "On Monday, NORAD aircraft conducted a safe and disciplined intercept of Russian military aircraft within the Alaskan ADIZ. However, the conduct of one Russian Su-35 pilot was unsafe, unprofessional, and jeopardized the safety of everyone involved. Behavior not typical of a professional Air Force." The incident highlights growing geopolitical tensions, as both the US and Russia continue to assert their presence in strategically important regions like the Arctic. It also emphasizes NORAD's critical role in protecting North American airspace from potential threats, conducting over 1,000 intercepts since its creation in 1958. The crowded skies, filled with overlapping territorial disputes, and the incredibly fast pace of modern aerial warfare greatly increase the chances of dangerous accidental collisions. The F-16 fighter jet incident in 2024 stands as a powerful reminder that these dangers are not just hypothetical. They can lead to devastating real-world consequences. This specific event took place during a tense military exercise near contested borders, where both national pride and security were at stake. In this incident, if the F-16 were to collide with a civilian aircraft, it could lead to the tragic loss of several lives, including those of innocent passengers. Such a heartbreaking event would not only shock the world, but also ignite a wave of diplomatic tensions between the countries involved. Military leaders and governments would face intense scrutiny, prompting urgent calls for better communication protocols and stricter air traffic regulations in busy airspace. Moreover, experts warn that as more nations develop advanced aerial technologies, the risks of these kinds of incidents are likely to rise unless proactive measures are taken. With unmanned aerial vehicles and hypersonic jets becoming more common, managing airspace is becoming increasingly complicated. This situation highlights the urgent need for international cooperation and updated strategies to ensure safety and prevent future tragedies. While the 2024 F-16 incident involved a collision between two aircraft, an even more devastating scenario would be a clash between a fighter jet and an aircraft carrier. Such a catastrophic event could happen in two main ways: through a mid-air collision or a landing accident. Each situation brings its own set of challenges and dangers for both the fighter jet and the carrier. In the case of a mid-air collision, the fighter jet would likely disintegrate upon impact due to the extreme forces at play. Modern fighter jets, made mostly from lightweight composite materials like carbon fiber and Kevlar, are designed for agility and speed rather than resilience in crashes. When colliding with a massive steel vessel like an aircraft carrier, which can weigh over 100,000 tons, the outcome would be catastrophic. The energy generated from such a high-speed impact, often exceeding 600 knots, would be so great that it could obliterate the fighter jet instantly, leading to a complete loss of the aircraft and severe repercussions for both pilots involved. In addition to the physical destruction, the implications of such a collision would be significant. Aircraft carriers are crucial assets in naval warfare, serving as floating air bases for the launch and recovery of aircraft. A collision could compromise the carrier's operational capabilities, potentially leading to mission failures and risking the lives of thousands of sailors on board. Moreover, depending on the circumstances, there could be a risk of fire or explosion due to fuel and munitions on the carrier, creating a dangerous situation that could spread rapidly and threaten the entire fleet. Landing accidents also pose a significant threat. During carrier landings, fighter jets must approach at incredibly high speeds and precise angles. If a pilot misjudges the landing, they might crash into the deck or worse, miss the landing area entirely, plunging into the ocean or colliding with other aircraft. These scenarios emphasize the importance of strict safety measures, such as enhanced training protocols and advanced technology like the F/A-18 Super Hornets, precision landing systems, which help ensure safer landings on these floating giants. Overall, the risks associated with these potential collisions highlight the need for rigorous safety protocols and effective communication between air and naval operations to prevent such disasters. As air and sea traffic continues to increase, understanding and mitigating these risks will be crucial in maintaining the safety and effectiveness of military operations. Even though the aircraft carrier might still be operational after taking damage due to its enormous size and specially designed compartments, the consequences of a collision would be significant. Such an impact would likely happen at high speed, typically exceeding 500 knots, sending a shower of debris flying across the carrier's deck. This field of debris could seriously harm or even destroy other aircraft parked on the flight deck, often valued at tens of millions of dollars each, injure crew members, and potentially pierce through the carrier's upper structure, compromising essential systems. Pieces from a fighter jet hurtling through the air at supersonic speeds, over 1,200 mph, could act like shrapnel, causing extensive damage across the flight deck and the carrier's superstructure. For instance, a fragment weighing just a few pounds could easily penetrate armor plating designed to withstand missile strikes. Additionally, the jet's fuel, which can be composed of a volatile mixture like JP5, would ignite upon impact, leading to an immediate fire hazard that could spread quickly across the flight deck. Modern aircraft carriers can carry more than 1 million gallons of highly flammable jet fuel, which has the potential to create a massive fire that could melt steel and aluminum, reaching temperatures as high as 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The resulting inferno would pose a severe threat not only to the crew on board, typically numbering around 5,000 personnel, but also to the parked aircraft and vital systems essential for the carrier's operation. A landing mishap on an aircraft carrier presents a unique and serious set of dangers. Modern carriers are equipped with specialized arresting wires, strong steel cables engineered to rapidly decelerate landing jets. These wires are crucial for ensuring a safe landing, as they catch the tail hook of the aircraft and can bring even a hefty 20-ton fighter jet to a complete stop in less than 300 feet. This ability is vital, considering that aircraft carriers are typically only about 1,000 feet long. However, if a Russian jet were to make an emergency landing and miss these vital wires, the potential consequences could be catastrophic. The jet could skid across the flight deck at high speeds, creating a chaotic and dangerous situation. This uncontrolled movement raises the risk of collisions with parked planes, deck equipment, and personnel on board. A study by the Naval Safety Center found that nearly 40% of landing mishaps on aircraft carriers involve collisions with other aircraft or structures. Additionally, the momentum from the jet could carry it dangerously close to the edge of the carrier, especially if it struck the deck at an angle. In this worst-case scenario, not only could the aircraft and its pilot be lost, potentially leaving families grieving back home, but the damage to the carrier itself could be minimized. Most modern carriers are designed with robust damage control systems, but the loss of an aircraft could still impact operational capabilities significantly. On the other hand, if the jet were to crash into other aircraft or structures on the deck, it could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction of explosions and fires. The highly flammable nature of aviation fuel and the explosives stored on board can lead to an inferno that threatens the lives of crew members and the structural integrity of the carrier. Such incidents have occurred in the past, with notable examples including the USS Forrestal fire in 1967, which resulted in the loss of 134 crew members and significant damage to the ship. In conclusion, the failure of a landing jet to engage the arresting wires could lead to dire consequences, not just for the aircraft and its pilot, but for the entire carrier and its crew, underscoring the importance of precise landings and effective emergency procedures on modern naval vessels. In any collision scenario involving an aircraft carrier, the most immediate threat would be fire. Aviation fuel is extremely flammable, with a flash point of around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, making it highly volatile under certain conditions. A fire could quickly escalate and spread across the carrier's deck, which is often packed with aircraft, personnel, and equipment. This would trigger the ship's extensive firefighting systems and protocols, including automated sprinklers, foam systems, and fire suppression teams, creating a crucial race against time to control the flames before they compromise the carrier's structural integrity or reach the ammunition storage areas. The danger of secondary explosions would be significant. Modern aircraft carriers like the USS Gerald R typically carry millions of gallons of aviation fuel and thousands of tons of munitions, including precision-guided bombs and missiles. These weapons are not only designed for high performance in combat, but can also become catastrophic if exposed to fire. The carrier's magazines, where munitions are stored, are designed with reinforced bulkheads and complex ventilation systems to contain explosions. However, if a fire were to reach these storage areas, the resulting explosions could release a tremendous amount of energy, potentially threatening the survival of the entire vessel and everyone on board. Additionally, the U.S. Navy employs specially trained firefighting teams that undergo rigorous training to handle such emergencies, including the use of advanced firefighting equipment like firefighting robots and drones. They practice in realistic simulations to ensure that they can react swiftly and effectively to contain any blaze. In such dire situations, the crew must rely on their training and teamwork to prevent a disaster that could not only endanger the aircraft carrier, but also impact regional security and military operations. The stakes are incredibly high, and the response must be immediate and coordinated to avert a tragedy at sea. The amount of damage sustained by an aircraft carrier during a collision can vary significantly based on several important factors. These include where the impact occurs, how fast the collision happens, and how well the ship's damage control systems function. Aircraft carriers are built with a lot of safety features, including multiple compartments and backup systems designed to help minimize the damage from battle situations. They have watertight compartments, strong bulkheads, and redundant systems for essential operations, all of which enhance the ship's ability to survive. However, if a fighter jet strikes at high speed, it poses a serious threat that could overwhelm these protective measures. In the frantic moments after a collision, the crew of the carrier would spring into action following well-rehearsed emergency plans. The ship's damage control teams, made up of hundreds of specially trained sailors, would lead the response. Their main responsibilities would include containing fires, managing flooding, and evaluating any structural damage. Damage control on an aircraft carrier is a challenging and risky job. Team members must navigate through corridors filled with smoke, deal with the possibility of structural collapses, and work near burning aviation fuel and live munitions. The crew would rely on a mix of fixed firefighting systems and portable equipment to tackle the intense blaze. Foam generators would be deployed to extinguish fuel fires, while water curtains might be used to shield sensitive parts of the ship from extreme heat and flames. At the same time, the medical staff on the carrier would prepare to treat any casualties. The ship's sick bay, essentially a floating hospital, would quickly be transformed to handle trauma cases. Additional triage stations would be established as needed, potentially creating makeshift treatment areas on the hangar deck. For those with severe injuries, emergency medical evacuations would be organized to transport them to better-equipped hospitals on land or nearby support ships. Meanwhile, the flight deck crew, easily recognizable by their color-coded jerseys that indicate their different specialties, would face the urgent task of clearing away debris and damaged aircraft. This effort is crucial, not only for maintaining the carrier's ability to operate, but also for ensuring that emergency vehicles and firefighting equipment can move around safely and efficiently. Any undamaged aircraft already on the flight deck might need to be jettisoned overboard to prevent them from fueling the fire or blocking access for emergency responders. In a critical situation like this, the ship's commanding officer would have to make a tough decision, carefully weighing the severity of the crisis and the immediate danger to the ship's safety. On the carrier's bridge, the command team would be focused on maneuvering the vessel in a way that reduces the impact of the wind on the fire. This could mean altering the ship's course or adjusting its speed to create better conditions for the firefighting efforts. The ship's heading would be precisely managed to prevent smoke and flames from spreading to vital areas or interfering with rescue operations. Meanwhile, in the Combat Information Center, which is located deep within the carrier's armored hull, the team would maintain a clear understanding of the bigger tactical picture. They would be responsible for notifying nearby support ships, organizing rescue efforts for downed aircrews, and keeping an eye out for any potential threats that might try to exploit the carrier's vulnerable state. Their job is crucial in ensuring the ship's survival and coordinating assistance in such a challenging situation. In the event of a collision, immediate decisions would need to be made about aircraft already in the air. These planes would either be redirected to alternate landing locations or, if necessary, prepared for emergency landings on the damaged deck. The air boss, who oversees all flight deck operations, would face critical choices. They would have to decide whether to launch more aircraft to continue combat air patrols or clear the deck entirely to focus on emergency operations. These rapid responses would play a vital role in determining whether the carrier could survive the incident and continue operating at some capacity. In those crucial moments, the crew's training, expertise, and quick thinking would be tested like never before. If the carrier manages to withstand the initial collision and resulting fire, the long-term consequences would still be serious. Even with limited structural damage, the loss of aircraft, potential casualties among key personnel, and the psychological toll on the crew would weaken the ship's combat readiness. Before resuming normal operations, a thorough damage assessment would be essential to ensure the ship's safety and effectiveness. If an aircraft carrier were damaged in a collision, it might need to return to port for repairs, which could take it out of the region for an extended period. This would remove a key military asset from a strategically important area. Modern aircraft carriers are extremely complex, with millions of parts and hundreds of interconnected systems, so fixing such damage could take months or even years, depending on how severe it is. The incident would likely force naval leaders to reconsider how flight deck operations are handled, rethink interception procedures, and evaluate the overall defense posture in sensitive regions like the Russian Sea. They might also have to reassess the vulnerability of large warships to aerial attacks, possibly leading to changes in how carrier groups are structured or how they are deployed. The psychological impact on the crew would also be significant. Witnessing such a major collision and dealing with the aftermath could lead to post-traumatic stress for many sailors. This could reduce the crew's effectiveness and would likely require extensive mental health support to ensure they can recover and continue performing their duties effectively. From the perspective of the Russian fighter pilot involved in the collision, everything would happen in a blur. In the chaos of a mid-air collision, the pilot would only have a few heart-pounding seconds to act. While modern fighter jets are equipped with advanced collision avoidance systems, these systems aren't always enough when flying at high speeds and in close quarters, especially when sudden, aggressive maneuvers are involved. Once a collision seems unavoidable, the pilot's mind shifts to a single thought: survival. Ejecting from the jet becomes the top priority. Ejection seats today are engineering wonders, designed to launch a pilot out of the cockpit and away from danger in even the harshest conditions. But the process is far from easy. If the jet is flying too low or close to a massive aircraft carrier, ejecting could turn into an even riskier move. When the ejection happens, it's a brutal experience. The pilot would endure extreme G-forces that could cause serious injuries. Even after successfully escaping the aircraft, the pilot's ordeal wouldn't be over. They would still have to manage the challenges of parachuting into the open sea while avoiding debris from the collision. At that point, survival would depend entirely on how fast rescue operations either from Russian or US forces, could reach the pilot and pull them from the water. In a scenario where a landing mishap occurs, the pilot would face an intense struggle to control a damaged aircraft while trying to land on an unfamiliar and possibly hostile deck. The pressure would be immense, with every decision needing to be made in a matter of seconds. The pilot could be forced to choose between three highly dangerous options: attempting a difficult arrested landing, ditching the aircraft into the ocean near the carrier, or ejecting at a dangerously low altitude. No matter the specific outcome, the pilot's fate would become a central issue in the diplomatic fallout of the incident. If the pilot survives, their treatment and the process of returning them home would be critical points in negotiations between the US and Russia. Furthermore, the pilot's version of the events would play a key role in understanding what happened and potentially assigning responsibility for the incident. The incident would not only address the immediate crisis but could also have a lasting impact on US-Russia relations and the wider geopolitical dynamics in the Russian region. Both nations would likely reconsider their military strategies in the Russian Sea. This could mean changing the rules for how their forces engage during aerial encounters, setting up better communication systems between nearby military units, and possibly negotiating new agreements to prevent future conflicts. At home, leaders in both countries might face pressure to either boost or reduce their military presence in the area, forcing them to balance strategic goals with public opinion. The event could also spark broader discussions about the growing militarization of the Russian Sea and the need for a stronger regional security framework. Additionally, this incident could reshape alliances in the region. US allies might push for stronger security commitments, while some nations may rethink the risks of closely aligning with either the US or Russia. This situation could lead to shifts in partnerships and influence the region's future security landscape. The crisis has the potential to dramatically alter the strategic calculations of numerous nations, reshaping their diplomatic and military postures for years to come. Historical precedents, such as the Cold War tensions and the fallout from the Gulf War, show how single events can ripple through international relations and significantly shift alliances and military strategies. The economic fallout from this incident could be substantial. Financial markets are typically sensitive to geopolitical tensions, and investors may react negatively to the uncertainty, potentially triggering a downturn reminiscent of the 2008 financial crisis, which was partly driven by economic instability linked to global events. This could lead to serious short-term disruptions, including stock market declines, increased volatility, and a potential slowdown in economic growth. Calls for economic sanctions and trade restrictions may arise, as seen in the aftermath of Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. However, both nations would likely be wary of taking actions that could inflict damage on their economies. In the long term, the incident could accelerate existing trends toward economic decoupling between the US and Russia. Reports from think tanks suggest that both nations are increasingly focused on reducing their dependence on each other, especially in strategic sectors like technology and energy. This could lead to a more fragmented global economy, where countries seek to establish self-sufficiency in critical areas, from defense to energy production. Moreover, the collision may provide both sides with access to sensitive military technology from the other. This scenario echoes historical incidents where technological espionage and unintended exchanges led to significant military advancements, such as during the World War II era, when both the Allies and Axis powers benefited from capturing each other's technology. Such access could lead to a reevaluation of military technology sharing policies as nations become more protective of their innovations. In response to this incident, both nations might ramp up investments in technologies designed to prevent similar collisions in the future. This could include the development of advanced collision avoidance systems that utilize artificial intelligence and machine learning to enhance real-time situational awareness. For instance, some modern military systems are now incorporating sophisticated sensors and algorithms to predict potential collisions, aiming to ensure safer operations in increasingly crowded airspaces and maritime environments. Ultimately, this crisis could usher in a new era of strategic realignment and technological advancement as nations navigate the complex landscape of modern international relations, where the stakes are higher than ever before. Managing public opinion will be a significant challenge for leaders in both the United States and Russia. An incident involving military forces could ignite strong nationalist feelings in both nations, making it harder for governments to reach diplomatic agreements. Political leaders will have to find a way to respond firmly while also avoiding actions that could escalate tensions further. This delicate balancing act could have major effects on domestic politics in both countries, potentially swaying election results and changing the dynamics of leadership. The way this crisis is resolved will set important precedents for dealing with future incidents in contested maritime and airspaces around the world. The international community will be closely watching how the US and Russia handle the situation, possibly learning valuable lessons for managing tensions in other hotspots. If a Russian fighter jet were to collide with a US aircraft carrier, it would create a complicated crisis with far-reaching implications. The immediate focus would be on saving lives and preventing further damage, but it would soon lead to intense diplomatic efforts aimed at avoiding a wider conflict. Such an event could fundamentally change military operations in the Black Sea and beyond. Both sides might implement stricter protocols for air intercepts and naval maneuvers. Additionally, international pressure could grow for clearer rules of engagement in disputed waters and the establishment of more robust crisis management mechanisms. This could pave the way for a more stable approach to handling future military encounters in sensitive regions. Thank you for watching another episode on our channel. While you are still here, click the video on your screen to see more mind-blowing videos like this one.